The indie scene never ceases to surprise me with its interesting game concepts. When I first came across City Climber, it was definitely intriguing. It looked weird, but fun at the same time, which made me want to try it out. After spending a few hours with this physics-based puzzler, I can say it definitely lives up to that initial impression. City Climber puts you in the shoes of a simple cuboid man who apparently happens to have the world's greatest climbing abilities. His segmented body can bend and stretch in basically any direction, and he can latch onto most surfaces like his hands have crazy glue attached to them. Your job is to guide this Mr. Fantastic wannabe to the goal at the end of each of the game's 14 story mode levels. That's right, there's a story. There really isn't much to talk about, but it definitely adds some charm to the game. We see our cuboid character end up in all sorts of interesting situations, such as saving a kitten at the top of a radio tower, getting arrested, and having to stop a runaway train. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this guy has a more interesting life than most of us. As the game's name would suggest, your only form of movement is being able to latch on to surfaces with your hands. They're controlled individually with separate button presses. The catch is that one of your hands must always be attached to something, otherwise it's an instant game over. Seeing that there are no checkpoints in any of these levels, prepare to be restarting a lot. This is definitely my main gripe with the game, its difficulty. City Climber may be all about using your hands, but it sure doesn't hold yours. Most of the game's levels only last just a few minutes, but the longevity comes in with constantly having to restart when you mess up. As you reach and grab between surfaces, you'll soon notice that our cuboid character seems to be a little bit on the chunky side. Each move feels like there's a massive amount of weight attached to it, making it a very tedious process to climb. You need to be as careful as possible, because one mistake will end the game. Sometimes you can make a mistake right before the end of a level, which is infuriating. Speaking of infuriating, I have to give a heads up to anyone that tends to rage when a game doesn't go their way. City Climber is most definitely for the more patient of us out there. If you don't have any patience, either this game will make you gain some, or it'll just go ahead and bring out your inner demon. Whichever comes first. In addition to the 14 story levels, there is also a handful of challenge levels with 10 stages each. Each set of challenges has a different theme, some being better than others. Overall, there isn't much content here, but it's still a decent package nonetheless. City Climber definitely has a few gameplay flaws, but it's hard to call it a broken game. It's certainly frustrating, but it makes the feeling of accomplishment all the more sweeter when you actually complete a level. Not to mention the fact that you're given an achievement for every level you complete. Completionists out there should love this. There's also a bit of a competitive scene. The time it takes you to complete each level is automatically added to the leaderboard, so you can compare your time with other players. Outside of the gameplay, the experience continues to be charming. The game features a handful of music tracks, all of which are pretty catchy. It can seem a bit repetitive after a while, but the songs are good enough for this to be tolerable. The visuals aren't anything that will make you go wild, but they do look nice enough. Overall, the presentation is solid, arguably more so than the gameplay. At the end of the day, City Climber is a decent puzzler. It has some frustrating design flaws that stop it from being great, but there's definitely some potential for this game. The entire project was done by just one developer, and it appears to be their first game at that. Looking at it that way, City Climber is mildly impressive. It's not a game you'll be playing for countless hours, but it's definitely something nice to sink your teeth into if you're looking for a little time waster or speedrun challenge.